Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 72 of the Talking with the Dad podcast. This evening, Stevie, I'm excited for the show.
Yeah?
Always. I'm always excited. This is something that should go without being said. I'm always very excited to do these shows.
How was your Tarkov run, bud?
Successful. It's the only run I've run in months since like the week after the wipe happened or whatever. I intended on dying very early, so I bought a million rubles worth of stuff to go in with and came out alive. So that's always a good rubles. Absolute pure Russian rubles.
Have you watched Borat yet?
No.
Every
time I sit down, I sit down to do it. Something else. I have to do something else. So
I started to click on it, then I was like, you know what? That part of my life is over. I'm sure that the first one went down in history. There's no way this one could be good. Like, I'm just here for the Giuliani shenanigans. That's all I'm here
Listen, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to attempt to watch it at some point this week. Very much so going to attempt. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I feel like something going on this week.
Something is going on this week. Something won't die this week. It's still going on. We were talking about it on a live stream, but I think you're talking about something else. What else is going on this week?
I thought there was some like video game thing going on this week. I wasn't talking about the election. I wasn't talking about anything. I don't know.
Mortal Kombat tournament's still going on.
Still? Oh, all 17 people are still entertained.
Is there a fight on tomorrow? Because I've gotten quite spoiled, right? I assume
there is, I think.
Right. I assume that there is a fight, and I expect it to be there.
Yes. Thiago Santos, Glover Teixeira. The return.
The return of the Glover.
No, the return of Thiago Santos after blowing both ACLs.
On his own kicks. Not even checked kicks.
Claudia Gadelha is fighting. Ian Heinisch is fighting. Andrei Arlovsky's fighting Tanner Boser in the co-main event, and that's a fucking stretch. Darren Elkins is fighting very early on the prelims.
This is a stacked card.
Oh, this is great.
Did you see Corey Anderson send Melvin Manoff to the nether realms of hell and Bellator?
What, Corey Anderson won his debut?
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I knew it. I knew it was happening, but I didn't see it.
It was stacked for him. Not that interesting enough, Melvin Manoff has a win over Mark Hunt in I believe in Pride. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But come on, they couldn't have picked a better opponent for Corey to come out to.
Bellator does that better than the UFC. Let's be fair, right? If they have someone they want to be at the top of Bellator, they make them go through the rounds unless they're a former UFC champion or a high level UFC fighter. Ryan Bader is a good example. He just went straight to the top. But Corey Anderson needs development fights still. He doesn't need to be fighting top 5 guys in the UFC. Corey Anderson still needs to be on a development contract.
He's been on a development contract since he won the Ultimate Fighter, dude. When do you take him off the development contract?
Give him better development fights then.
You don't get much more developmental than living in a house with 12 other guys with fights that don't count against your record.
Listen, you can't like. He won over Johnny Walker, and they're like, all right, let's give him someone else, and it's like, no, because Johnny Walker also needs to be in development as well. Like,
well, you know what the crazy thing is? Corey Anderson has been knocked out by John. He's been knocked out by what was this dude's name? English fellow used to train with got beat by Alexander Gustafsson, and then when Jimmy Manoa got knocked out by him. Yeah. There were some pretty severe knockouts in Corey's career, and the fact that he beat Johnny Walker and everyone's like, "What's gonna happen?" I'm like, "This is Phil Davis all over again." I'm gonna have to listen to these crazy people.
Here's the issue, right? Like, he beat Glover, he beat Alir Latifi, and he beat.
Wait, Corey Anderson beat Glover?
Yeah, in 2018. This is like in between Glover's 3rd and 4th career.
Okay.
Right, he's in 4. He's number 4 right now. He's looking good right now. I don't think Glover now
5.
beats. Is it career number 5?
Yeah.
Glover now beats Corey Anderson. Let's be fair. Then he beats Johnny Walker, and then they're like, well, let's give him Jan Blachowicz. That's a bad idea for anybody. The guy's the champion right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking about resurgences in his career, like when they write the movie on Blachowicz' life, it's going to be amazing because whatever happens with the Stylebender fight, and I give him a 50-50 split on that, by the way. I know people are going to get mad at me for saying that.
I think he wins.
But I think he has just as good a chance as anyone else. We're talking about an accomplished kickboxer. Also, we're talking about a Polish accomplished kickboxer. And I don't know if you know that,
right? It was a little bit different.
Yeah,
that's where like Valentina is like a Polish kickboxer, right? Like
she was in the Polish circuit. She's
right.
Not
that's what I'm saying. She's not Polish. She's like Ukrainian or Russian or something. I'm sure.
Yeah, but that whole scene. So it's like Poland, Denmark. I forget the other place.
Overeem, right? The Overeem. Yeah.
These are guys that go regularly to compete against the Thais in their own sport, and usually there's a whole thing that goes there. But Jan deserves a little respect. I don't think he's getting enough respect on his name.
I mean, his 4 fights in a row were Luke Rockhold, Jacare, Corey Anderson, Dom Reyes. Right? Dom Reyes people argue that he won the fight against John.
Right.
I went back and watched it. I don't believe that anymore. I think John did enough. But he smoked Dom Reyes.
Dude, that first kick to the liver, that changed the way Dom was like, oh, yeah, well, I got to do something different.
Dude. Me fucking too. I looked at Blachowicz a little bit different after that. I was like,
let's talk about a little boxing, man. It's starting to heat up in the smaller divisions in boxing, man. So, I was talking to my bookie today.
Before we get into your bookie, Canelo's out of his contract with the zone.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge.
Free agent, so to speak. But here's the thing. So now we got to wait to see because there's no settlement reached at this point. I've scoured the internet.
Won't be. They couldn't afford it. We talked about this. Yeah. They could sell off all of their assets. They don't have any, but they could sell off everything that they have and still not be able to breach that contract.
I think they bless them with 10 million and maybe 10 on the back end, but they're never gonna be able to pull 40 million.
$400 million contract.
They're not going to be able to pay him the 40 million. Well, he's only owed the 80 million for the fights that he's fought on his contract.
Only
that's what he only, I'd kill half of Wisconsin to get my hands on that type of money. There's nothing personal against Wisconsin
people, you could do it without being noticed out there in fucking Fargo.
I would be noticed in Fargo. They'd be like, oh, he was a strange looking elf fellow, He's of the darker persuasion. I do miss you working at the school and laughing at the fact that people would never just say, hey, I was working with a black guy named Steve, but they give you the song and dance like over and over. Like, he was tall, well spoken, if I'm allowed to say that.
Seemed to be educated. I'm not sure how.
Very strange. No, Canelo's out. 135 to 145 division, starting to heat up in boxing.
Yeah,
it's a sad day. Not a sad day, but some of the top analysts, tell you Atlas included, they laugh at the fact that the smaller divisions are resurging boxing right now. When I say resurging, it's too early to say that it's making a comeback, right? But we have some compelling fights.
Sure.
In boxing now. And then, of course, we have a topic on here tonight that we have to get to. Topic number 4, which is we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
We haven't even gotten into topics yet. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Fun fact.
I can see you already rubbing your head.
I know. I'm still very confused about it. I remember this when it first happened too. Fun fact: Jan Blachowicz had a loss to Corey Anderson in 2015.
Yeah, that was their second meeting. And Jan famously said after the fight with Corey, when he was being interviewed, he was like, I knew that after he knocked out Johnny Walker, he was going to come in punch hungry. Sure. And he was going to want to strike with me, and that was my opportunity. Corey Anderson's no joke, man.
He's a great wrestler.
Yeah, he trained with Matt Hughes in Chicago for a little bit, where he came from, and he obviously changed with Mark Henry.
Right? That's where he fights out of now?
Yeah, Jersey. Actually, fun story. He was on Frankie Edgar's team on The Ultimate Fighter, and he moved into Frankie's dad's house after the tournament, and basically, did that whole thing, and they welcomed him in. Screw Corey Anderson, man. I want to talk about the GOAT, Neil Magny, growing some fangs on Twitter, man. Apparently, Neil not only called out your boy, but he was like, yeah, there was a contract or something happened. He was like, and they gave him someone else. They're giving him Leon Edwards.
Leon Edwards.
So here's the thing, right? Mark my words. I don't know. I don't know if Neil Magny will ever be champion, but I do know there's a reason that a lot of people duck fights with Neil Magny, and then when they do finally have to fight,
I don't know why. Neil Magny is the guy in the UFC that I'm like
he's a sleeper until you're in there with him.
He's a sleeper. That's a good way to describe him.
He's gone on a long streak. When you look up his record, that was the one thing Joe Rogan said about him on the show too. He's like, he's just this very non-assuming guy. You wouldn't even think he was a fighter, but then you look at his record and you realize that he went on like a 6 or 7 fight win streak.
7-fight win streak and then loses to Damian Maia, right? He's fighting a bunch of like nobodies, right? Like Tim Means at the time was probably okay, but this is 2014. Tim Means is probably on the end of his career, right?
No, 2014 Tim Means was the dirty bird for real. That man is a dangerous man in 2014. Lost to Maya, lost to RDA via leg kicks, beat Johnny Hendricks via decision, and
beat Kelvin Gastelum, beat Hector Lombard,
yeah.
Then loses to Lorenz Larkin, then beats Johnny Hendricks, then loses to RDA, but then he beats Condit, Craig White, and loses to Santiago Ponzinibbio. Right, and then fights 2 guys. Okay, so Anthony Rocco Martin, I know that, and then fights a very, very old Robbie Lawler, and it's like, okay, sure, Neil Magny, he could be very good, but he seems to be fighting either people on the tail end of their career or people that I don't know who they are, and that's an issue with people who, and he's ranked what, 10 or something.
But see, that's the problem with the metrics with combat sports, right? Because anyone can fit into those criteria you just described. Look at say the guy's name for me. Say his name.
Who?
Chimaev.
Chimaev. He hasn't fought anybody. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
We talked about this extensively, that we think he should fight someone outside very close to the top 15.
Neil.
Right.
He should fight Neil.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not arguing
Leon Edwards. Not Leon Edwards. He should be fighting Neil Magny. He should be fighting someone.
I think it's a bad fight for Leon Edwards, but I was watching your boy do some mitt work, and I don't know if he was just focusing on power that day. That's something that people do when they're doing striking. They just throw heavy, lumbering shots just to get used to.
Chimaev, is that who we're talking about, or Leon Edwards?
Yeah, no, Chimaev. And I was looking at that, and I was like, man, if that is what's coming into the octagon, it's powerful, but it's slow.
But
so I went back.
We saw it against Mershart, right? And he hit him with a fucking a lightning bolt.
Yeah,
that punch was quick.
That punch was quick. He hit him with a lightning bolt, but there was go back and watch it again. I'd be interested to see your fourth take on it, because it was kind of I'm not saying it was telegraphed, but something happened there.
I thought it was originally.
I think there was a little fear there. I think there was a little deer in headlight situation. But hats off to Leon Edwards, man. He's taking this all in stride. I actually am calling that he's not going to make it to the fights because most of Europe will be closed by that time.
I agree. They need to get him out now, or it'll have to wait until it's back in Abu Dhabi. Do we know when it's scheduled for? It's December, right?
Yeah,
which means it'll be in Vegas, right? He might be over here already.
Yeah, they probably stole him in the middle of the night.
I agree. Hold on, I'm watching it right now.
You're watching it right now?
Yeah, I am. So.
What do you think?
Telegraphed is hard, man. I don't know if I would say it telegraphed, but
it came out the chamber for sure. But tell me there isn't a pause there from the other guy, like a kind of a stutter, kind of like what Holly Holmes went.
He stuttered immediately, but I think he stuttered because he wanted to go back the other direction. Right, that's what it looks like to me. Is he was circling to his left, and it looks like he stutter stepped to try to step back and go to his right, and just got clobbered. There was definitely Neil Marshart had a or whatever the guy's name is, GM3, Gerald Marshart. He stuttered for sure. I'll give you that.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this fight plays out, man, because if he beats Edwards, then obviously he's up next for the title. He's up next for the title,
and 100%. Almost deserves to be, right? Because Leon deserves a title shot, right? What's the title shot right now? Who's this is at what, 70 or is this 85?
Yeah, 70.
So who do we have? Is it Burns versus Kamaru?
It's Burns versus Kamaru. Whenever they rebook that one, and then you can actually put them all on the same card in my thinking, man. Like that would have been the move. That would have been the move there, but I know they want to keep bolstering their fight night numbers, which apparently are doing good. Man,
you know what's crazy? I heard that Khabib Gaethje sold 750.
That's it?
Yeah. 750,000. Which in the ESPN era is very good.
This is very good. It's very good. It's crazy to think that the Zone sold themselves on the premise that pay-per-views were dying. Do you remember those famous words from the half-dead Oscar De La Hoya?
I don't care anymore.
When he was attacking poor Dana White, the cleanest man in the industry. You find me something wrong with Dana White, all right? You show me where he's ever done anything. Give me 3 examples of Dana doing anyone dirty in their fighting career. Off the top of your head, right now. Go.
None.
Man's a saint. And then that cokehead De La Hoya comes out of left field defaming the greatest you know I'm sorry, man.
It's true.
That's who I really feel bad in this whole Canelo situation is, Oscar's just sitting there trying to ignore his phone calls and Canelo's calling him like, I want my money, man. I want my money. Like someone's got to pay the check because he's not named. Golden Boys is not named in the actual suit itself. But at some point, all eyes are
going to have to go down to him, right?
Yeah,
Golden Boy is saying that he's never getting the money from DAZN, right? And DAZN has kind of admitted to this now. I have no idea, dude. Yeah, what? We don't have money.
This is all free on your friggin' Amazon Fire Stick. Come on. What do you want to kick it off with first, big guy? What do you want to talk?
What do you want to do? You want to do the election first?
Oh God, I guess so.
So
I just want to say goodbye to the last 4 viewers.
As of right now, Biden is in the lead, 264, 214. I don't know how long it takes to fucking count votes in Nevada. They've reported like 6% more today. Biden is growing his lead in Nevada.
Right.
He has flipped Pennsylvania and is now growing a lead in Pennsylvania.
Right.
27,000 ahead in Pennsylvania, and has somehow flipped Georgia, the most Republican state that I could think of, second to Alabama.
Right.
And he's in the lead by 4,020 votes.
So here's what I want to talk about, right?
Sure.
If we're doing the Sunday quarterbacking thing, and I'm the guy that has to go in and explain to Trump why he's going to have to concede at some point and move out of the White House, we have to talk about how this type of stuff happened. But we got to talk about some of the positives. So obviously there was a good turnout in Florida for Latino males for Trump. No one expected that. Blew a lot of analysts' mind. There was the needle.
The Masvidal thing helped, I'm sure.
Well, that and the whole "we don't want to live under a communist regime" that was the perfect bit of propaganda pointed right at.
I don't know how people don't understand communism, and that's interesting. But
well, people don't understand communism; they don't understand Marxism, and But anyway, that's a show that we'll do another day. Here's the crazy thing, right? So they weren't anticipating a lot of the black African American vote, black or otherwise, swinging towards Trump as well. So there's obviously some dissension amongst the ranks. That's another show that you and I can talk about because it's obviously the African American community is not a monolithic community, and there's everyone has their own opinions on things.
Monolithic, good word.
Thank you. But here's what we're left with: we have a Trump where places like Georgia, somehow classical conservatives said, not this time.
Yeah.
Now, why would they say that?
Here's what it is Georgia's a lot of cities, right? Atlanta, Savannah, Augusta, Athens to an extent. That's where
holy smokes, they just stole every Greek city-state's name. I didn't realize it.
Correct. And Macan. And cities are notoriously left-leaning, right? And that's where Biden got a lot of votes. But what's really important is that so many people voted, right?
Yes.
Last election, he lost the popular vote, 53 million to 51.5 or something, right? 55 to 53. Like, it's like 74.8 million to 70 million votes right now. I would be willing to say like 80% of all eligible people who can vote in this country voted.
Well, yeah, I mean, so we talked about this on another episode. Maybe the link will be in the description. Who knows? I don't know.
I
Right? No
doubt
one
it
knows.
unless you remember
I
to do
doubt
it,
it.
because I don't even remember to put the video up on the
I
correct
can't even
day.
I can't even remember what video it was, but we talked about this. We actually went over what happened with Hillary and Trump. Was it that people really didn't want to vote for Hillary? There was a lot of that. Was it sexism? I can't quantify that.
Probably.
But I do know this, people showed up to vote this time, and the bell has been rung.
Fuck up.
Like, people
Like,
really
crazy.
they got out there and voted. The crazy thing about it, though,
so it
is
was 65.8 million votes to 62. So, but we're
Yeah.
still at how many? 20 million more votes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we're about 10 million on each side more votes. That's a significant increase, right?
Well, so two things we got to deal with right off the bat. Why didn't his message resonate with classic conservatives? He lost the older population. A lot of people were saying that's because of the poor response in COVID. I would agree entirely with that assessment. And then secondly, the thing we got to deal with now is, what do we get with a Biden-Harris presidency, right?
It's a big question. It's a huge question.
And I think this is the time where it's a time for reflection. Your immediate victory over Trump might be present right now. Now you got to hold these two accountable. If anyone ever really wants to know a good show to watch where you can get a very great perspective on it, it's called Talking with a Dad. But other than that,
no, there is no other show.
There is no other show.
We are your only show.
We actually, you know what? Nick's the next part of that statement. But you should really go watch Rising Hill, because they have at least one left-leaning correspondent, and then they have an extremely right-leaning one, and then they find a good middle ground between them. So you usually get a good amount of information about any subject. And I just think, when you think about classic liberals like Cornel West saying things like, we got to take these people to task. Speaking of Biden and Harris, that we can't just let them fall into their corporatist ways as soon as they get into power and just start kind of like dealing out American jobs again. Mm-hmm. That's true. Like, we have to 100% stay on top of these people. You can't just be happy with the win over Trump.
Sure. You have to hold him to his stuff that he said he wants to do, right? And I think it's where Trump got away, is no one held him to the things that he said he was going to do.
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing is about that is, so you have the tax plan. There were some wins. I don't know how much of this he had to do with, like, the whole embassy in Israel, making Israel that move. That was really good. That was great optics. Mm-hmm. The funding for the historic Black colleges, the fact that they had to come out every year and kind of beg for money and stuff like that was a sore point in the Black community.
Okay.
And then he set them up where they don't have to do that anymore, that they just get basic funding. Like, good move on his part. Great optics. The criminal reform thing, even though it wasn't a sweeping criminal reform, he spent a lot of time meeting with community leaders, freeing incarcerated people from prison who have been rehabilitated, or commuting their sentences if they had been wrongly convicted and been the heavy handle. So there were some things that happened there that I think were positive. But overall, here comes the fuckery, right? So now I just got to be honest with you. His loss of the presidency is 100%. I'm not talking about voter fraud, because I'm not going down that road. Is 100% on him. Every chance
100%. Yeah.
Every chance that he has had as a leader to put rhetoric to the side and just focus on data, when people have told him constantly, just talk about the economy, just talk about these things, talk about the positives that are coming out of your administration. He decided to go, and this is when someone's not tested in politics. He can't stay on task. He has to talk about the other shit. Sure. And so it's all on him. That's why his message didn't resonate with 55-year-old conservatives, right? Because they were like, well, I don't know.
Who are the people that are his base, right? So the one thing, I'm stealing this from someone else, and I don't remember who it was, that that's
the best type of thought. Steal it, bro.
They said that it looks like when Trump goes up for a speech, he has a bunch of bullet points on a piece of paper, and 80% of the time, it looks like he hadn't even read that yet. He's like, and we did the wall. Yes, the wall, the greatest wall, the wall that never was, right? Like, and that's interesting, right? Because it seems like personable, right? Like, you can like relate to that.
But there's no substance behind
There's
it.
no substance, right? He says a lot of words. He speaks at a third grade reading level or something. Like,
Right.
it's absurd, right? He speaks in fragmented sentences and those other stuff, but it's like it's digestible, it's clippable. He does the one thing he does really well is he's really good for media, right? Because
Right.
he says
Right.
things in 30-second segments and then pauses and then says more things in 30-second segments, and it's really easy to clip it and post it and share it and do all that. And he was very good at being viral. Right. And that he was very, very, very good at that. But if it would have been that with substance, he wins this by a mile.
100%. I agree with everything you said. So this is the next part, right? I mean, I feel for your generation. This is officially me at 39 years old, man, saying something I thought I would never say. I'm getting ready to walk into 40 here soon, May 30th.
Soon.
I will
Absolutely
very soon. I will be leaving behind this mortal coil and finally joining the elite club of the 40s, which at that point I'm going to be quite insufferable. I'm hard to deal with now.
Oh my
I'm going to be extremely hard to deal with.
It's going to get worse.
I'm talking about I'm going through man swings right now, mood swings all the time. But here's the thing, right? I mark my words, Zach. If someone does not start reaching out to the people who made Trump's base, you cannot just write these people off as bigots. You cannot just set them up as separatists. Like, someone has to have the balls to say, hey, we need to sit down and figure out what's going on here as a country.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give it. There comes a point, man, where like, yeah, I don't ever want to be called the N-word, right? But I've stepped into scenarios where I've had to do my job and been called that word just to get the job done.
Sure.
You know, and it does not make me feel good. I wanted to beat that person within an inch of their life. But at some point, we have to step outside of this bubble and go, how did this man rise to power so quickly?
Yeah. What did he do? What did he do that played into your core sensibilities so much? You know, that's a huge question, because I'm genuinely curious, right? I'm genuinely curious about a lot of that, of like, why was this, like, what did he do that made you go, okay, this is my guy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, truly, I don't know if anyone has a direct answer to that. I've asked multiple people. I know people, a bunch of people are Trump supporters, right?
Most people are ashamed to say what they're really feeling. Like, they won't say it.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I want to know, right? Like, I'm genuinely curious, right? Huge thing is gun control, right? The Democrats need to drop the "we want to ban guns" thing, right?
No, it's not.
They need to drop that. That needs to go away. The Second Amendment is maybe the most important, you know, piece of literature in the world, essentially, right? Because it's more than just being able to own a gun. It's literally the right to protect your family.
Yes.
And that's what's important to people. Will anyone ever need to use it for that? You know, statistically, very little. But that right is there. It's the same with your right to get a driver's license. The same as the right to own a car, to own a house, to own property. Right. That right to own a gun and protect your family is very important. And listen, I'm not very left leaning. I'm actually pretty centric if we go down the talking points. Fiscally conservative, socially liberal. That's kind of where I stand on most things. But keep the guns, dude. We got to keep the guns. Like, in my opinion.
No, you're 100% correct. In fact, if anyone ever came for you on this subject, I would just say, hey, here's my address. Instead of meeting him, meet me and we can talk about it face to face. Because the Second Amendment also has to deal with dealing with a tyrannical government. Something that we all, as Americans, I think,
fear.
We think, we fear it to our core, but we think it can never happen. But we inch closer and closer to a scenario where we'll be willing to give up our freedoms for protection. But the Democrats do need to lay off that message. Also, they need to promote their more moderate candidates, because they need to reach people in rural areas who feel ostracized by what they consider to be the elites in the city talking down to them. This was a huge thing in the Hillary campaign. Instead of just acknowledging the fact that maybe people have differing views than her, she referred to Trump supporters as idiots. So anyone by proxy that was going to vote for Trump because they didn't like her,
they felt
is now. Yes,
they felt marginalized or not cared for,
discriminated against, marginalized, shat on, all the good words.
Yeah.
Who the hell are you typing with in the chat, man? You stop typing.
Everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it's a very polarizing election. That's why we see such huge turnout.
Right.
It's interesting. It's interesting to see the fact that people are like, well, we're being cheated. This is fraud. Like that never happens. Like it literally, it happens within such a margin of error that, you know, you write those off essentially. The president calling to stop the counts was interesting. While he would have lost, may I add, it goes against, like, even if you are a Republican, the fact that he wanted to stop the counts of the votes should go against everything that this country it goes against everything the country stands for, right? Everyone has a right to be heard, everyone has a voice to be heard, and the fact that you want to stop the count of the votes is something that directly goes against everything that the US stands for.
Well, see, I mean, now you're touching on something that's really vital, which is it really, do you believe in the principles, or do you believe in the convenience of whatever you think the principles are, right? Like, do you actually believe in a functioning democracy where we've been hit in a situation with COVID? I know we did a conspiracy episode like just last week, but at some point you got to let reality shine, which is no one could have been prepared for this. If I'm just talking about the general population, if you were really worried about voter fraud, if you're really worried about these things, there are simple things you can implement to make sure. But to discredit the entire process, that's another thing that hurt him in the optics, man. People, like, his whole thing was projecting, and by him I mean Trump, was projecting confidence and strength. The minute he said that, I was like, oh, there goes another 25%, right? Because even though, like, his hardcore QAnon fans will bite into that, there are actual people, hardworking Americans, who are seeing this and they're like, no, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't jive. Like that does not jive. Like, you either let every vote be counted or not. But now we're gonna have to deal
every vote needs to be counted, right? Every vote needs to be counted. You can count them twice. You can recount them, whatever it is, right? But every single vote needs to be counted, and that's just what's fair, and that's just what we stand on, right? As a democracy. The fact that he even called to stop the vote, in my opinion, is
bad move.
Treasonous.
Bad move. Ollie North, Ronald Reagan move right there.
Fucking Watergate type moves, you know.
Marvel's Avengers type shit.
We're gonna talk about that. I have some fun stuff for that one.
We gotta stop. You gotta stop kicking them down. They're gonna file a defamation case against you.
Listen, I'm just spewing facts. The election stuff is strange. Everyone's glued to it. It's actually been enjoyable to watch. I got out. I voted. I know you guys voted by absentee ballot, which is a great way to do it. I wanted the full.
We're a part of the problem. We're part.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Homeowners with children. I agree. Part of the problem. I went to my polling place. It was a 5-minute experience.
Oh, dude, you got to stay out of town, man. There's a huge outbreak.
Really?
Yeah, there's a huge outbreak.
I don't go anywhere anyway, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to tell you. I meant to text you that. I can't really
go anywhere anyway. My car's in the shop.
Stay out of town, man. Just apparently, like, they close down the school. Like,
correct. Yeah, there was a case in the school. One single case in the school. We know where it was from too. We know the
Jersey.
people. We know the people. So it was the guy who ran the food service in the school had the case. So didn't expose anyone in the school, I believe. What happened was they catered a party and they caught it from catering while at the party. So that's where that is. It's pretty isolated.
Speaking of catering, man, great show on Netflix. I know you're always looking for more cooking shows or stuff like that. There is a barbecue show on Netflix. I can't watch it because I suffer from what people call fat ass-ism, and I start craving food. I watched this one guy carve up a nice pork hide and marinate it, and I was like, well, I know what I want to eat now for the rest of the year. Friggin' amazing. We're done with the election stuff. We'll let the rest of the world sort this out. But
that's
here talking with a dad.
We didn't go for 2.5 hours on election.
No, I can't do it.
We went for like 18 minutes on election.
Listen. Here's why I can't do it, right? Because, and I'm being serious. Ben Sassy, I hope, runs in 24, right?
Okay.
But I hope he runs, and I hope he doesn't have to deal with. A very good friend of mine pointed out something great. He's like, the smear campaign that's going to come from liberals, and when I say liberals, I'm not talking about your everyday liberals, someone that believes in liberal principles. I'm talking about the Nancy Pelosi's, people like that who pretend to be liberals. They're going to smear anyone as worse than Trump, and that's going to be the campaign moving forward. Like, well, this guy is worse than Trump, but Ben Sassy's on record opposing most of everything that Trump has ever tried to implement. And I think that's going to be unfair for conservatives. That part I'm not looking forward to, is watching people like AOC came out and said something, and I don't realize how dangerous. I don't know if she knows how dangerous what she said was, but she basically said, I hope someone's keeping a registration or record of the.
I saw this. Yeah. I saw that because I saw Weinstein or Weinstein, I forget the guy's at Weinstein, responded with this, saying that, like, it's un-American, the fact that you're trying to track and then discriminate against people who have opposing ideas, which is true. True. My thought on AOC is I don't like most of her opinions on things, but I do like the fact that she's in Congress or House, whatever she's in, Senate, because we need differing opinions.
No, 100%. And we also need younger people at the helm, not just because they're young, but
just prop me up.
I'm trying to get you in there, buddy, but they keep saying that you keep cursing them out when they call you because you think they're a telemarketer. That's actually the DNC.
They're the people trying to sell me a warranty on my car, dude, for the 57th time.
You need that warranty now.
I know. No. I keep paying.
No, the thing about AOC is, though, man, she needs to be there. I think that she propels other people, and she, competition makes you better. That's just the bottom line.
I agree.
Bottom line. All right, man. Let's just get it over. Why don't you just shit on the Avengers for the?
Is that what you want me to do? You want me to shit all over the Avengers? So I sent Steve a thing. I should probably pull it up here. The Avengers essentially underperformed severely. I'm trying to pull up the exact tweet. So Square Enix reported a 6.5 billion yen loss for HD Games, which is who developed Marvel's Avengers. So they said that about through the forecast they sold about less than 60% of what they were trying to sell.
Right.
Apparently the game cost about $100 million to make.
Holy shit!
Right.
Sorry for my language. Sorry.
And it only sold about 3 million.
That's it.
$3 million.
Why did it take me so?
$3 million.
Why did I have to pre-order it? Why did it take so long for me to get my pre-order? I'm going digital from now on. I'm never doing that again.
You don't buy discs for things. Everything is digital. But I mean, we can figure out how, based on $3 million, right? We divide that by 60. I did that, but I accidentally divided by 0, and the fucking calculator was like, you can't do that. It sold about 50,000 copies. If you do that quick math, 3 million divided by 60, it sold 50,000 copies.
Hard copies, or
well, total copies total, right? Like, because they're all $60, right? Digital copies are the same, and there was higher editions, right, and lower editions,
right?
If your game sells, let's double that. Let's say it sold 100,000 copies. That is such a nothing burger that it doesn't even, in my opinion, deserve the time that it's going to need to make the game what it should have been. Right? You're not making any money on it. And to lose $97 million essentially is what they claim, or is what this tweet claims, right? 6.5 billion yen loss, which is $100 million, I guess, right?
Right.
Or that juxtaposed to what the sales were. That's a never happening again situation, right?
I would think so, man. I had to lean back and really think about that. As you're laying out the numbers, I'm wondering what the board meeting was like. Because, I always think these things go wrong when they get to that point of the meeting where it's like, hey, this is the game we're thinking about making. And there's some coked up board members like, no, man, here's what we're going to do.
Well, here's the issue, right? We don't know what rough draft 1 of Avengers, Marvel's Avengers A-Day, right, at the time is what it was called. Right. We don't know what rough draft 1 looks like, right?
Yeah, that's great.
We don't know what rough draft 1 looks like. We don't know what rough draft 2 looks like. We know what rough draft 3 looks like, and that's the game that we have, right? Because from a lot of people's opinions, The game is unfinished.
It's broken in many areas. There are glitches that are unforgivable.
Sure.
Yes.
But my from what I've heard is the game is unfinished. Right. Yeah. Essentially the game is not where it should have been with the amount of money and the amount of time that they potentially could have had to develop the game. That is by definition a loss. That is a loss, and not just financially, but as in video game world, right? A loss. So here's a good example. $250 million to make Grand Theft Auto 5. The game has grossed $10 billion, I believe, at this point.
Yeah, that's because they won't let it die, though, right? You keep thinking a new Grand Theft is coming
but
out.
People are still spending money on it. I think year over year they're making more. The game's not dying.
I don't disagree with you at all. This is the problem with Marvel's Avengers. I'm telling you right now. You summed it up pretty well in your pitch, but I'm just gonna put the nail in the coffin, right? The game got delayed. It was supposed to have been delayed to deal with the issues that we have now. Obviously, they didn't deal with those issues. There's a lack of content. The story was great, but there's nowhere else to go, and they don't know how to guide it, right? Because they don't know if it's an MMO or if it's actually just some turn-based team game. And I think that's the issue right there. I want to see if they're going to actually release the DLCs at this point. It would be nice to see that. I
think if they have it developed or in development at this moment, they will come out. But everything past that won't be worth it. Like, listen, if I've already spent time and money and assets to develop Black Panther, and we've already done the release trailer for Black Panther is coming out, right? But I don't know, fucking Galactic, or is Galactic a guy? Did I just make that up? Yeah.
Yeah, you made that up. But
whatever. So Galactic or whatever, right?
You're thinking of Galactus, yes.
Whatever.
Yes,
so who would be the 35th character that they were going to release over the next 2 years? He doesn't get developed, right? He's not worth the time and effort that I need to put in and the assets I need to develop to make that happen. You know, if the next 10 things come out, so they're going to release a number of things, right? First of all, they're already cutting prices, by the way. The battle passes that you had to buy to get the cosmetic items, they're already on sale, and apparently that's just the new price now, right? So that's also a bad sign, is when they're cutting the prices of things, because apparently people aren't buying them.
See, but here's the problem I have, right, man? This ship can still be corrected. You just need to fire everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Have Kevin, no, I'm being dead serious. Have Kevin actually become involved in this, because this is supposed to be his job, right? He's supposed to be involved with all of this stuff. Anything that has its Marvel's name on it, creative, he's supposed to have his fingers in it.
Sure.
And they need to get a team in there to actually make the game what it was supposed to be when it was A-Day. I wasn't joking when I whispered that under my breath. I was like, oh man, you remember A-Day? Remember what we were promised with Avengers A-Day? Like, this was supposed to be my big exposure to MMOs.
But it wasn't one. Yeah, it was just disappointing. All right, it was the plan, and we were going to use that to get you into other things, mainly RuneScape. But
it's the long con. Here's how they fix it, right? So they got to get the Hawkeye correct, right? First, they got to get players back. So Hawkeye has to be good enough, and the Kate Bishop stuff. I don't think she's good enough to pull people back, but people are going to come back to play Hawkeye.
They have to sell. They have to sell copies. There isn't a matter of getting people back, because no one cares about 50,000 people.
Let me make the pitch. Kate Bishop, Hawkeye DLCs need to be on point where they bring back their hardcores. They are probably, if I know people who run Marvel well enough and Sony, they're vying on the Black Panther DLC. You heard it here first. They are probably counting on that being the thing to bring people back. But I think you might have missed it by about a month or so.
Or more. It would have had to have been there on release. Here's the issue. If you have 50,000 players, that is smaller than most hardcores. That most hardcore player bases, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. Are we putting it in the realm of MMOs? Like, we'll do that for a minute.
No, we
right?
can't. No, we can't. You can't. No, you
but where do we put it? Where do we put it? Because we can't put it in AAA games, right? Because then you have to put it up against Call of Duty, which Call of Duty's hardcore is 500,000 people, which is 10x what you sold potentially, right? And I was thinking, do we put it up against RuneScape, right? Which on average is 150,000 people logging into it every day, right?
Yeah.
And most of those are unique. They have like 1 million unique users a month or something, right? You can't put it up against Destiny. You can't put it up against.
We're batting our heads against it, but I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, man. You and I disagree on a lot of things, but we agree on a lot of core things. The pitch you made in regards to Avengers is its issue and its resolve, right?
Sure.
You don't have people who understand MMOs designing the game, and you quite possibly don't have people who understand your fan base designing the game. You need to have those two things merged together, even if you kept the game layout the exact same way it is, but someone needs to step in and says, this is the direction we're heading in. Right? Like, we are picking a direction and we are going that way. And if you want it to be an MMO, just have the balls to make it an MMO. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's hard,
like,
right?
Because just have the balls to stick to the landing. How hard is that? Commit.
It's very hard, right? Because they spent $100 million on the game to develop it to where it is. That means it needs $500 million more dollars to get it to where it should be, right?
Yeah.
That's a $500 million. They're gonna have to release 2 more Avengers to make up the fucking losses for this game, right?
All right.
You know, I wonder what the lifelong development cost for World of Warcraft, for example, has been. You know, it's been around. It's celebrating its 16th anniversary this month, right? It's 2 years away from being able to fucking, you know, join the military, like
legally.
What legally, right? What is the running developmental cost of an MMO, right? Because you're gonna need, like, WoW right now has a few million subscribers. A few million subscribers, right? Like, the game didn't even sell that many. I can't imagine why, how, or where you could justify putting any money into this game anymore if these numbers are correct. This is off of a tweet, which credible source generally, but I'm not sure exactly what the breakdown totally is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing, man. There might also be something to maybe it shouldn't head in the MMO direction. There's a reason that Spider-Man did as well as it did, right? There's a reason for that, and there's a reason that superhero games have traditionally followed that model.
Sure.
For the AAA releases, right? We can agree on that. There's a reason that they're going to release a DLC for Miles Morales as a full game, and it's probably going to sell like gangbusters because people want to get in and get out. Right? They're going to do 100%, even if you stick around for the 100% completion. And then the DLCs, that's it. Like, once we beat the 3 DLCs for Spider-Man and we got every suit, that's it. You know, like, that's it. The game, it was just a bragging rights to say that we did it. All the way down to finding his dead aunt and uncle. Maybe Avengers needs to follow that path too. Just, you know, maybe just make it what it is. If you're not going to commit to making it an MMO, just make it another Spider-Man game, dude.
Right, you gotta pick one of 2 directions, right? There's multiple directions you could go, but this, in my opinion, is you gotta at this point you're at a crossroads. You need to focus on making the best single player experience you possibly can, right?
Yeah.
And extending it potentially 3 or 4x what it is right now. Because it's what? Is it a quarter of how long the Spider-Man game is?
It's definitely, to me, I would have to look at actual data on this, but to me, it was I beat that game way quicker than Spider-Man.
Right. So the story, if you're playing through the story and you want to beat the story, it's 10 hours long from the reports that I've seen. 10 to 12 hours long. Spider-Man might be double that, but that's a whole hell of a lot of difference.
Spider-Man was a lot. So this is an old school way to quantify something, but it was a lot harder. Like, so I gauge games on their actual difficulty level. It was a lot harder to beat Spider-Man versus beating the Avengers. The Avengers, it took me 3 times to get the main mission done. I don't know, man. I enjoy the game, and this is where I feel like such a hypocrite, because I did have a great time playing it, and I still have fun playing it with my son. It's just like thinking about the larger community and how people are dealing with it. It's not what we were promised, because now at this point, we were supposed to have the Kate Bishop story. I should be knee deep in the Kate Bishop story.
You would have been done already.
Yeah, I should be heading into Hawkeye. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so
I should be.
I'm just looking at a little bit of numbers on Google. It says the Marvel's Avengers game is about 10 hours long if you're trying to beat the main story, and the Spider-Man game is about 20 hours long if you're trying to beat the main story. Right? That's double. You know,
Yeah.
you can't be knee deep into a game that you could beat theoretically in one sitting. I'm sorry. Like, it could be amazing. The game could be very good, but the fact that it's only 10-ish hours, let's give it 14. Let's give it 14 hours. If it's only 14 hours long, it's not acceptable in today's day and age, and you can't charge full price for it, right?
No.
This is probably going to be the length. Well, this makes me fear a little bit for Miles Morales, where if that's only $40, how long is it going to be, right?
So it's funny you brought that up. Someone said that it's just short. I have to get the clip, and this dude's usually trustworthy when it comes to game reviews.
Okay.
Said it's just short of 20 hours, but what makes the game replayable is the play with Miles Morales. Now that was a weird way for him to word that. He's like it's just fun playing the game as Miles Morales, and that the map. So one of the biggest drawbacks in the original Spider-Man game on PlayStation was the map itself. It looks huge, but you're really limited in what you can do at any given time. Like, you can swing around for hours and just be swinging, but there's no content to back that stuff up. Like, there's maybe a robbery going on or something like that.
Okay.
Once you find the backpacks, apparently they've removed all the restraints on the map of this game, and it's going to be more fun that way. So that's probably where you get the just about 18 hours, but that's why they're selling it for $40. Like, we broke that first. 100%. There's a reason this game is coming out for $44. They're like, we don't want to burn anyone. This is what it is.
Right.
Like,
it's a glorified DLC in some people's opinions, including mine. But still, it's double the length of the Avengers game, right? Where I don't know comics, but my thought is the Avengers game should be 150 hours long to get through the story that they want to tell. You know, like, it shouldn't be half of what Spider-Man is. I don't even know how to quantify that. Like,
you know what the crazy part about it is, man? Like, so I played with Pete one night, and we went and we did a mission we were not leveled up enough to do. We fought the Abomination, and that was fun, right? There was a point where we beat one character to death. You know, he's like level 40. Me and Pete are level 20, level 25. And we're beating this poor level 40 guy to death, and he just won't die. And I was like, man, I'm having a good time. But then when I started thinking about it, I'm like, I'm going to beat Abomination. Then we're going to go beat the other clone of Abomination. And what was the point of all of this? This has nothing to do with the story, right? This has nothing to do.
You got to get rid of that. That idea of this has nothing to do with the story. You're so deep in the God of War, Shadow of Mordor, where the entire game is the story, that you will ruin other games for yourself, right? You will never be able to play a Minecraft for an easy example because of, why am I doing this? This has nothing to do with the story, right? Some games, a lot of games
is pointless, but that's the point, isn't it? It's like, because it's pointless.
But it's not pointless. There is a story to Minecraft, right?
Oh, there is?
You have to do a number of things to beat the game, right? Oh. You have to get to the Nether. You have to beat the Wither. You have to go to the end and beat the dragon, right?
Well, it sounds like you're swearing at me right now. The Nether, the Hither.
So the Nether is the underworld, right?
Okay.
So that's the hellscape in Minecraft. They just overhauled all of it. So there's like actual things to do there now, right? You can farm wither skeletons to get heads to beat the Wither, which is like a boss that you could spawn, a replayable boss. But the ultimate goal is to do that, to get enough gear and stuff to go and find the end dungeon, to go to the ends and beat the dragon, the Ender Dragon, right? That's the end of the game, technically. There is a plot to the game, kind of, right? But you don't ever have to do that in Minecraft and still play it and have a good time. But it's about making things for yourself to do, right? Where you guys couldn't find anything to do in Avengers, so you went and fought someone who was double your level, right? You made something for yourself to do, so you had a good time.
It was a great time. Absolutely great.
That's what I'm saying.
I do feel bad that Pete died at one point. Like, it was a perfect run.
Did you make
it? Was near. No, of course not. It was a near perfect run.
What's the point of playing with someone else?
He got stuck in a glitch, and he was basically working Abomination as Iron Man from the sky. He's got the high terrain. He's hitting with every laser, and the next thing I hear is, "Oh fuck!" Like, I see his character fall from.
But like,
no,
in a lot of
get
games,
that.
in a lot of games, you have to make things for yourself to do for it to be fun, right?
Yeah.
MMOs are like that. Sandbox games are like that. Grand Theft Auto is like that. Like,
What's a sandbox game?
A very good example of it is Minecraft. You get to mold the world.
Okay.
Essentially, like think about if you, like, as a kid you were in a sandbox and you try to make sand castles, right? You're doing your own thing. What was the point of making a sand castle? Because it was fucking fun, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a sandbox game. Open world sandbox games are all very similar, but like those games, you have to manufacture something for yourself to do to have fun, and that's half the fun is going, okay, what are we gonna do? We're going to go on an adventure. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. And ultimately, this is the thing that we want to do. But how long does it take us to get there?
Right.
And that, for me, is what's great about games. But I also stray away from, when I play single player games, I stray away from that main story a lot. I will go through it. I'll get through it. But I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go screw around and try to jump out of buildings and see how far I could fall to die. Like, I'm going to go do everything that I can do for the $60 or whatever more that I spent and do that, right? And that's why I like MMOs a lot, because I'm always thinking of things that I have to do.
Now, see, that type of stuff, I don't mind doing. Like, I showed you the one clip when I was playing Shadow of Mordor, and I was like, I'm going to see if I could take this castle without using the rest of my reserve. It was a bad move. I ran in there, and I had to immediately run out of the castle. Right. But I think, so here's the cleanup for Avengers, man. There probably won't be another part 2. There won't be an Avengers 2. And they already said that. They said that the content for this game was supposed to be released for this game. I don't know who, if you want to
what content?
Like, if you want to believe that shit. I say they get us the Kate Bishop, they get us the Hawkeye, we get the DLC for Black Panther only because
it's in development.
It's in development, and it's a good way to honor Chadwick Boseman. Side note, breaking news. Chadwick will be coming back allegedly as a CGI character in the next Black Panther movie.
I don't like that.
To die, to set up that, because this is actually a story arc. This is a part of his story arc, but we'll get into that.
Avengers, Black Panther, right?
Yeah. So release the friggin' Black Panther, and then give the Sony people what they were supposed to get. If they don't release the Spider-Man, whatever their Spider-Man DLC was going to be.
Oh yeah, that didn't come out day one. I thought that was a day one thing. No.
This was something. It's supposed to be coming out 2021. Literally, they said it's going to be coming out at the beginning of 2021. So it's, I guess it's January or something like that. So moving on along from Avengers, onto the Black Panther thing for just a millisecond before we get into our other topics. Yes, that is the alleged rumor. Chadwick Boseman will be coming back to us as a CGI character in the beginning of Black Panther 2 to die, and it's supposed to be allegedly the working title thus far. Mantis, I don't know if you heard this yet, is supposed to be Tale of Two Kings, because it's going to have Namor, who's Marvel's version. Oh, actually, he existed before Aquaman in DC. So
isn't Namor the guy with the
underwear, flying around with the little wings on his feet?
Yeah,
yes. Yeah. So apparently he's supposed to make his debut there, and we'll see how that whole thing plays out. I would like to hear people chime in the comment section and in the live chat. Do you want to see CGI Chadwick? Because they've gotten a lot better at this, but I think some things are too fresh. And I think Chadwick is unique, where since he was not a scandal-written celebrity, where people might have an adverse reaction to this. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it'd be one thing if, it's Michael Jackson, someone reanimates R. Kelly's dead corpse for a tell-all, But Chadwick Boseman, by all accounts, might have been the last good man on earth. God rest his soul. And I don't know if anyone really wants this.
Listen, man, CGI is a weird thing where people and people's faces specifically are very, very, very hard to do. And to do well. That's the issue, right? Is to do well. And
to make lifelike without the soul eyes. Yes,
the eyes are a little bit different. It's the top lip, the way that the top lip. I've pointed this out to you before, right? The uncanny valley. It's almost. Listen, they did it with Paul Walker in the one Fast and Furious movie. but they didn't do CGI. They used his brother because his
Yeah,
brother
and
looks
they
exactly like him.
superimposed him onto his brother. Yeah,
Right. I don't know, man. I don't have a dog in the fight.
I'm saying I'm saying don't do it. I'm 100
Yeah,
percent
that's where
like
I'm leaning.
there's a better way to do it. There's a better way to do it. But anyway, moving on to something more exciting. I'm gonna let you take the reins here. We're going straight down the line, bro. You got to explain L.A. Thieves to me because I was watching it. Like I
What
have
do
the
you mean? I
ability
have to explain LA Thieves to you?
explain it. You got to explain the developments. This is your inside scoop. You're the guy. You're the Teddy Atlas of this shit.
What do
You
you
explain it. You
mean?
make me feel smart so I can steal your thoughts and then tell them to other people. Do it now.
So, as I predicted, the Optic Gaming CDL slot was sold to 100 Thieves. After Hex has now retained the Optic likeness and image and everything that is rightfully his that he built from the ground up, has sold the CDL slot to 100 Thieves. Nadeshot is now back in to the Call of Duty League, and it's huge, right? It's very, very big. Did you see the announcement video that they did?
No.
Incredible. There's some subtle nuances in there that are very, very good. There's one scene where Nadeshot walks into the 100 Thieves office, and it has a spot where you would see trophy cases and trophies and like their accomplishments, and nothing is there. And he looks to the right, and he sees the LA Thieves logo, and when he walks back out, the trophies are there. The Nike shoes are. It's a very little subtle nuance of how they did it. And I saw the guy who directed it come in and said, "Hey, listen, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to show it like an empty hole, and Nadeshot's worried, and he comes in and he sees the logo and his mind's cleared, and he comes out and there's all the trophies, right?" And it's an incredible little piece of media and how well and how thought out it was done. It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting because I think Nadeshot as a player was average in my opinion, but Nadeshot as an owner, as an org owner, as a GM, whatever it's going to be, he has an eye for talent, and who they sign, where they sign, and who they get to be on their team is an incredible thing that we're going to be able to watch here in the coming month or so.
So let me ask you a question. What's different this year in regard to the finances of 100 Thieves? Because when we talked about this last year around this time, well, was it around this time last year? Let's just say
it was a little bit before. It would have had to have been around this time, right? Because our channel's only about just over a year old.
Hey, you see how I worked that in there? I got you to say it out loud. What's different about the finances for them?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an inside look into the company. My thought is that the company's doing very well clothing wise. They have a few other successful esport teams, and it just seems like it was the right time. Now we don't know because the franchising fee, the $25 million franchising fee, was already paid by Immortal through the Optic Gaming logo and likeness, right? Did Hex short sell to Nadeshot, right? Because he didn't have to, I don't know what the sale of Optic was like. Those figures haven't come out yet. How much money did he get the spot? How much money did he buy Optic back for? My thought is, if he paid less than the $25 million for Optic back, the CDL seat remained under Immortal, and they decided to sell. Now, if he paid $30 million, hypothetically, to get Optic back, he then sold $25 million of that CDL spot to 100 Thieves. That's my thought, right?
Okay.
If he bought Optic back for $6 million, the whole Optic as a whole, bought it for $6 million, and that included the CDL licensing fee already having been paid, because it's a one-time fee to get into the league, right? He sells it for $5 million to Nadeshot. Nadeshot doesn't have to worry about the $25 million, right? He pays a fifth of that. Hex, regains all of his money that he essentially paid for Optic, and now we're square and going away, right? There's a few options there. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the breakdown. I haven't seen the sales numbers. I haven't seen any of the money changing hands. So,
wait, all right. So, follow-up question. Walk me through, because about 2 months ago, I was reading articles and watching videos on people basically roasting 100 Thieves for their esport teams, right? And just saying that
Sure.
they don't have any team that's worth shit. Was essentially what was the estimation. Whether or not that's true or not, I leave that to the experts. But walk me through the teams that they currently have and how do those teams rate in their respectable leagues?
I'm not sure. They have a Fortnite team. I'm not sure about Fortnite stuff. They do have a League of Legends team. I'm not sure if 100 Thieves is in the LCS. I think they might be. I could probably look up the LCS teams at the moment. They are also in Valorant, and Valorant's the one that they've invested into.
Right.
With some very, very good players. But let me see. LCS 2020 spring split. Let's see who was a part of it. 100 Thieves has a team. So yeah, and they were third. They were third in the LCS, which is incredible. Listen, the LCS is very competitive. They're not very good, right? They're not very good on the world stage, but the LCS is incredibly competitive. TSM, who ended up like winning the summer split or whatever it was, the summer split, and then going to Worlds, was in 5th place during the spring split, right? So the way that the LCS works is that they're 50-50. They cut their season in half and they do spring and summer. Like when I say it's incredibly competitive. Admittedly, Cloud9, TSM have won essentially every single one of the LCS splits, but the 3 teams under them are never the same. It's very competitive. To be third in the LCS is a very, very nice thing to see. They sat at 10-8. They're tied for second, actually. So first was Cloud9 at 17-1. They're a little bit ahead of everyone else. Evil Genius, 100 Thieves, and FlyQuest were all 10-8. Let's put that how competitive it is into perspective. So, and then the next 2 teams then it was TSM at 5th place was 9-9, and then it was 8-10, 8-10, 8-10. They're all within that, like 10-8 to 8-10 is 80% of your teams. That's how competitive the middle of the LCS is. And 100 Thieves to be in third is very, very strong.
Talk to me about their CS:GO team. Is that the team that was getting roasted? They just recently let go of a roster or something. Like I could have that information wrong.
They let go of their Counter-Strike roster.
Yeah, so is that the team that was like tanking, basically?
It must
hurting
be. I would have to see. They signed. Okay. Studying complications with travel and a focus on European events.
Right, that's what it was.
In October, about this time last month, they disbanded their Counter-Strike team. I don't know how they were prior to that. It looks like they had some issues. In 2017, they bought Immortals roster, and then in October of 2019, they bought Renegades roster. They placed 7th to 8th in ESL. They lost to Fnatic, which is a very good team. And then their team disbanded in 2020 because they couldn't compete, which is fair.
You know what's great about this whole thing, man? Just listening to you break down the numbers and stuff like that and thinking about 100 Thieves, man. There's no clear, this is the only org I really know anything about, but there's no clear org where it's like, it's so wrapped up in how well they're going to do because their branding as a clothing line,
very good,
really very extremely good. But if they want to continue to grow that, brand, they're going to have to be able to stick their foundation, which means they have to prove to people that they're still, an esports team. Like they're still vested and they're not just a skin for people to have, man. I'm happy for Nadeshot. I'm 100% happy for Nadeshot. I will never forgive him for opening up a pop-up off of La Cienega when I was trying to get to work one day. And then Daft Punk also opened up a pop-up store.
They did that last year. What do you mean?
No. They did another one. And I didn't realize back then, I didn't know of that, who this guy was.
What year was this? What year was this?
This was about 3 years ago. And I remember the first time I met you at the school, you were talking to me about 100 Thieves. And I'm like, I know that name. And sure enough.
So it would have been late 2017?
No, because I left LA, so maybe not 3 years ago. I left LA, and how old is Mathis? How old is Mathis?
Almost like 3, I think, right? So 100 Thieves wasn't founded until November 20th, 2017. That's what I'm saying.
No. Then this had to have been in 2018 because 2018, 2019. Let me paint the day for you. So I'm driving to work on Westwood Boulevard. I know not to come up the northbound side because I already saw that there was a Daft Punk pop-up coming up. This is something that popped up on my Google Drive, by the way. It wasn't something that like I'm an insider. I know all this shit. It's like there is a meetup that's effing up traffic. I took the other way around Robinson. And I said, I'm just gonna come down to the log cabin this way, dude. I'll take the long way and I'll come through the back way. And sure enough, there they are, a bunch of skinny jean wearing weirdos. And I remember seeing the number 100. I know it was them, dude. You won't convince me otherwise. It had to be them.
Yeah, I will, because their only pop-up store they've ever done was February 29th of 2020.
Who the hell was it then, man?
I have no idea.
Who else wears skinny jeans and has 100?
The Supreme people.
Who?
Exactly. Yeah, their only pop-up, their first pop-up was done. First retail pop-up, and over 500 people made it out February 29th of this year.
Listen to me. I'm an old person. I don't have to defend my stance. I'm pretty sure it was Nate Shot and 100 Thieves, man, and I'm going to continue to hold that grudge against him.
Okay.
But I want to talk to you about Huntsman for a second here.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about Hex. Greatest comeback story. Not that it's really a comeback story, but greatest
redemption story.
Yes.
Depending on how much he spent to get it back.
Well,
did a mortal short sell it to him back and take a loss? Then yes, it's clearly the greatest, because he made money and then bought the thing he sold for less money back. The same thing that the Fertitta brothers are going to do with the UFC.
You keep saying that, man, but you know what's really going to happen, right?
UFC's going to have an awful next year. Fertitta brothers are going to come in at the end of that fucking WME contract and scoop them up. Watch.
It's not a contract. They own it outright.
Nope. That's exactly what they're going to
do. Just because you say it over and over again, you might convince me, but that doesn't change.
That's my goal in life, is just to convince you of bullshit.
No, but here, let's set the boundaries for the greatest comeback story, right? For Hex, particularly. What would you say makes a great comeback story? Like, look, in this context.
Man, in this context, is the right guy being in the right place, in my opinion, right?
Right.
Do we need to lay the story of the Optic Gaming out for people? Like, is that
no? Because they're not paying us. They're not paying us. So we don't need to do that. But if you can just give us a snippet for free, and we can do that. But don't you dare.
Sure. A few years ago, Optic, run by Hex at the time, saw a change in the market, needed to take on an investor to keep up competitive pay for their players. He got screwed out of essentially everything. They sold it to Immortal. He made X amount of dollars from it, somewhere in the net range of 30 million. Because it sold for $100 million and you own 30%. You own 30% left. Yeah. And that's the math that I remember for some reason. And now he owns the rights to Optic Gaming again. That's where we are.
So here's a great thing about that, right? So if it turns a huge profit, if he's able to do something with, if nothing else, the branding and whatever he does with the Huntsman, man, no one can ever take it away from him. This is something rare, and I know I make this music comparison a lot. It's literally like some of those old Motown guys getting their masters back. Sure. That's what it feels like to me.
Sure.
I know it's not the same dollar amount. I know some try hard is going to correct me. You heard me say it. I know it's not the equivalent of the same dollar amount, but just imagine if
it's when Paul McCartney bought his music back.
Did he get it back officially?
I think he bought it from the estate sale from Michael Jackson's estate, in my recollection.
Poor guy. Yes, that is the exact same thing. The exact same thing. I feel good for Hex, man. I honestly think that a guy like him or Nate Shot is going to continue to make this thing go.
Oh, never mind. Sony owns it.
Hey, quick side note. Have you ever been to the building where John Lennon lived in the city across the street from Central Park?
Yeah, I have. What do they call that area? Raspberry Fields or something?
I don't know. I didn't even know it had a name. I know it's beautiful. One of my favorite restaurants is right underneath that building, but we're never gonna get to do that again because COVID and all. Everything's.
I have been by there for sure. But yeah, absolutely, I have. I think where he was shot was like the name of the spot where he was shot is like Raspberry Field or something.
Yes, that's in the park. I can't wait. See, this is where it gets a little fuzzy. I can't remember if he was shot in front of the building or the entrance to the park, but I know that they have the little memorial thing for him in the park. Circle with the quote from the song. I can't remember if it was in front of the building or not. That has nothing to do with Hex or any of these people, man. This is still very good. This is really good for content creators that have been following the story forever. Like guys like that.
Me. Huh? It's only me.
There's you and that esports kid. I've never that guy hasn't slept in months. You and that guy, the only people following this story that closely, man. And shitting on Avengers at the same time. In fact, if I can get you in front of Kevin Feige, I'm like, this is your hugest detractor. If he doesn't like the next movie, it's probably going to bomb. And I'll just introduce you as the Gimp. Would you be willing to take on that role?
I'm not even going to watch the next movie. Like,
you and I both know I'm dragging you to see that shit, man.
No, you're not. No, it's not going to happen. I didn't go watch Star Wars with you guys. I wouldn't have watched Endgame with you. No, I'm not going to go watch it. There's no chance.
What are we doing for episode 100, man? It's coming up. It's creeping. It's
around the corner. Changing topics that quickly? Interesting. I don't know. We're about 14 weeks away.
I'm not changing topics. I just want to know if you've been thinking about it. Like if you have some
topic on our list. So are we doing the topic now? What are we doing?
No, we're doing the topic. I just caught you out there.
Did you get the timestamp?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool. I see that it's not in there. But in my opinion, I don't know what we do for 100, right? We're about 14 weeks away. We're at 72 right now. 14 times 2 is 28. That puts it at 100. So we're pretty close, right? We're fairly close as to when we're going to get episode 100. I don't know. My thought, we should do it in person. What are the logistics of making that work? We'll see. I think we could do it very easily.
Yeah, a couple of COVID tests.
I'm the most quarantined person you know.
No, Santana is the most quarantined person I know.
Well, that's because you keep her like that.
Hold on for a second, motherfucker. Don't you ever judge my way of life ever again.
So what if we own a farm? So what if I work somewhere else and she has to take care of the crops?
It's been a fun ride, man. Episode 100. Here's what I'm thinking, right? Retribution Day. You get your list, I get my list. I'll take your list, you take my list, and we just take out each other's enemies. I'll literally show up.
I don't have enemies. I don't know what you mean.
Oh, Zach, you've got enemies.
Not that I hold as a level of enemy.
So you're
people might think that they're my enemy, and I've forgotten about these people.
So you're gonna rob your enemy of that when he shows up to kill you. You're like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, what? Hold on. I was like, you're gonna have to lay this out for me. What is your name and what did I wrong you with?
I loved her, man. I loved her. You're like, I don't even know her name.
Who was she? which number was she? Oh man, I don't know. Like, yeah, I mean, we could do that for sure. I mean, I'm gonna take 9 weeks to get all your fucking enemies. I'm probably somewhere on the list myself.
Don't worry. Most of them are old and fat, just like me. So if you show, like you just got to get past that 5-minute threshold.
Okay, all right, 5-minute burst threshold. Got it.
Here's what I think we do for episode 100. I'm gonna everyone stick with me because I'm gonna have to sell them on this really hardcore. This is where we actually play a game. Like we take it back to gaming with a dad. Not like so you have to do a bunch of editing. One live stream of us playing a game. You have the superior computer. You have a stream PC. You have a whole laboratory over there. Now that I think about it, you got 4 monitors, 3 different processors. Right?
Well, I could have 5 monitors if I want to turn the laptop on.
I say episode 100. We pick a game, and just for that live stream, only for that live stream, we play that game, and we don't have to worry about conversation or anything like that. We just look at the camera, and I let the drool roll down from my mouth.
So we're gonna have to decide what we want to do, right? And I'll have to work on the logistics of making it happen. Because playing a game with our cams both on is a little bit harder than you think. Because it would literally be impossible. We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I would need a second capture card in both PCs essentially. And more monitors and shit. There's the only way I could think of making this work is if I double my monitor output. I'm already at 4 out of 4 slots on my graphics card, so I couldn't essentially do it. But whatever. Yeah, playing a game would be very hard with both of our face games, and I'm not sure how I'd make it work. I don't know if I could.
All right, how about we do this? Let me throw another pitch at you. We finally do the second part to the greatest fast food experience episode.
No, that's boring.
Okay.
I think
we smoke crack on YouTube.
Now that I'm into. We take the Hunter Biden strategy.
That was meth. God damn you savages. You don't know a meth pipe from a crack pipe? One is round, the other one is thin.
I thought one was a spoon.
What? No, that's heroin, you savage.
Right. Yeah,
Do you think
my opinion of episode 100, I don't care about Hunter Biden. I don't give a fuck. I really don't.
I want to party with that dude, man.
No, I don't. I want him nowhere near me or my children. What I want for episode 100 is in person. We do a live episode. We could even make it like a special week or something for episode 100. I would be down for that, where we play games on stream. I would be fine with both of the ideas, but mixed together. I think playing on stream is a very good idea. I think we should even do it potentially outside of episode 100. I think us playing games on stream together would be fun. I think the in-person episode is it, though.
In-person episode? I got to clean up the basement. It's looking
you have 14 weeks to handle. I'm sure something will happen, and we'll fucking forget about it. Can we do 2 a week, right? So you have 14 weeks.
14 weeks, man.
You'll be 40 by then.
No, I don't think so. I think your math's off. May 30th.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, it'll be February 12th. We'll be episode 100.
Now I'm gonna kill myself on the live stream when I turn 40.
You can't do that. Or even say, actually, we're not on Twitch, right? You might be able to say that. If you say that on Twitch, you get permabanned.
Really?
Yeah, because of why Twitch became Justin TV became Twitch.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I apologize for that insensitive statement. I am in no way, shape, or form condoning suicide on Twitch.
But everywhere else, it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. We'll be looking for suggestions for episode 100 for sure. Maybe we hire a producer, so I don't have to do all the work.
Release the hoagie and whiskey episode.
I don't know if I have it. I think it's on that memory card. Like it's right there for people. Or it's in that camera. But I don't know if I actually have that episode, which probably shouldn't be released. And it was only half an episode anyway. And we talked about fighting the entire time.
You know what the crazy? If I remember the exact technical difficulty, was that back when we couldn't figure out why the camera would stop and start on its own? Was that that episode?
I knew why it would, but I was very drunk, so I probably couldn't figure it out. We still might have that issue, but I would do it differently. I would do it differently now if I had to do over. Yeah, I think in-person episode, maybe play a game on stream. Maybe pick a game, play it to completion. I don't know.
Division 3 will be out by then. I'm sure of it.
No, it won't.
Division 3.
The earliest you'll see even a Division 3.
Switzerland.
The earliest you'll see a Division 3 even trailer will be next E3, if it happens. That's when the earliest you'll see a trailer is, right? And it'll be 6 months after that we see a game. I don't know. We'll pick something to play. Maybe we'll play through like World War Z or something.
Dude, I had so much fun playing the Division 1. I actually had more fun playing the Division 1 until you got angry and let your rage get the best of you.
Oh my God. We needed 2 more people for that. Listen, I like the Division 1 better than the Division 2.
It was
I
more
like
fun.
this setting better. There's less time to action, so like every 15 seconds in the Division 1 you're fighting somebody. Where the Division 2 I feel like I could go minutes without finding a single person or even like a fucking animal walking around the streets. The Division 2 felt empty, but I think it was supposed to. And we just didn't appreciate that. I'm actually probably due very soon for a replay of the Division 2.
I'm in. You let me know. You starting from 0 or?
Yeah, I'll start a new character and play through it again. I just think I am. I don't know. I wanted to play it again. We already played the Division 1. Division 1's my preferred game, but
I think there was one point in actually one obvious thing we can do for leading up to episode 100 or afterwards, we could actually finish Borderlands 1. You remember that? Remember we started Borderlands 2. We started with Borderlands 2, ended on 3.
We only cracked the beginning of that game. We're not even anywhere near it. I don't fucking want to play it again. Borderlands 3 is out. If we wanted to go back to Borderlands, why don't we go and finish Borderlands 3? Because we only kind of finished it.
That wasn't the end.
So what you're supposed to do now is reset, run through the bosses again, and then there's like a bonus mission at the end of that to do. Right? There were still things left to do, but we beat the main story, so we just said fuck it. We're done, dude. Look, Steve is so sad. Actually, Borderlands 3, I'm sure, is a great game, but I was so done with it by the end of it. Because, listen, Steve was too, but I don't understand why. I was working 25 or 30 more hours a week on that than I do on this stuff.
Well, wait, hold on for a second. You have to forget, man. I mean, you happen to forget that in those episodes when you were working more, no one can ever take that away from you. No one can ever deny that. But I'm the person that has to deal with you because you're working more.
What do you mean?
So if you work 30 hours, I felt all 30 of those hours.
You should have.
I felt at any freaking rate, dude. Here's what I'm talking about, man. We do Gaming Bonanza 100th episode, right? We play some Street Fighter. We play some Mortal Kombat. We jump into the Mortal Kombat. You sneak me into that tournament, and if I beat any one of those pros, we talk so much shit.
What? You have to go through like a 13-year-old and like 18 Korean people, I think, right? Is Mortal Kombat Koreans or Germans?
No, it's Germans and Russians. These dudes are serious.
They have nothing else to do.
They're not playing around. I watched a guy execute like an 8-hit combo, which is pretty intense for Mortal Kombat.
Right, Mortal Kombat's like 3 or 4, and then you're like fucking looking to get out.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, and but at the same time, I was like, why is there only 70 people watching this?
Because it's Mortal Kombat, dude. No one cares anymore. Well, all right, if we're gonna do that, which I don't approve of, I feel like I'd have to spend a lot of money to make this happen. Which is just the truth.
We can play Destiny.
See, I don't know where to start with Destiny, and that's probably the issue, because we have like max level characters, and we didn't fucking do anything for it. We just like walked in one day, and they're like, "Here you go," and we're like, "Nice."
I actually had a lot of fun playing that game. I
had no idea what we were doing. We just did it for content, and it was kind of fun.
Battlefront?
I don't want to go back to one of these games, man. We could play RuneScape. I'm fine with that. That's a gaming with a dad approved game. We could play World of Warcraft. Well, it'll be February by then, right? I don't even know what'll be like out. Like,
you accuse me of having OCD, but your OCD shows with those two games in particular. You're like, these are the games that they make me feel good, and there's a routine.
No, I have an addictive personality, and I get addicted to games, right? Like, it happens all the time. Like,
I like to play a game called Heroin Dice. You want to play that with me?
Sounds good. Like at the beginning of this year, like Q1 this year, I think I played 800 hours of RuneScape or something, because I was like fucking addicted. Like legitimately addicted. I was driving and doing shit on my phone playing RuneScape. Like,
I can relate to that.
That's where I was with it. And it happens to me like once a year. So the next time it happens, my account will be sick. My account right now is pretty good, When it happens, it'll be fucking sick.
Can I tell you, I almost died in LA watching a UFC post-fight show while I was driving.
I totally understand that.
I realized my exit was coming up. I was like, ah!
But like, what should we do for episode 100? I think the episode 100, like, we'll do like other things around it because 100 is a big number, right? The episode 100 will be in person. That's my idea. The things, the pomp and circumstance around the other things with episode 100, sure, we'll play some games on stream. We'll do some other stuff, but we'll figure that out with time. But the episode 100 will be done in person, I'm sure.
We'll do it in person. I'm gonna get a shirt designed. I'm gonna hit my brother up, get something done for 100.
Okay, it's not matching shirts. Please don't do matching shirts.
It has to be matching. You're gonna have to.
All right, I'm in.
So, all right. I'm gonna keep myself on track here.
Okay.
For this last topic, but
Steve's really fucking pushing the pedal on this show. I like it.
Because I'm knee deep back in boxing. I said I was just gonna stick a toe in. This was 4 weeks ago. Now I'm up watching everything I can find. Here's the thing about GLOVEGATE. First, actually, I'm gonna let Zach tell you his opinion on GLOVEGATE and what GLOVEGATE is. Because if you hear from me,
know what it is, right? So you're saying
right,
GLOVEGATE. Could you at least lay it out first and then ask me questions?
So GLOVEGATE has to do with the Tyson Fury, and not to Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fight.
One or two?
1 and 2. This is a larger conspiracy.
This is a large scale conspiracy about gloves.
Put the timestamp on there for me, but let me lay this out for you, right? So in the first fight, Wilder didn't outright accuse him of doing something, tampering, Tyson Fury being into him, of tampering with his gloves, but he insinuated heavily that there was something going on there, that he had tried to pull something, and he just kind of let it go because the fight was, it was called a draw. He knew they would meet up again. Let me also preface by saying this. I am not a Wilder fan, so I'm going to give you a complete unbiased opinion on this. Sure. I think, let me just qualify it even more by saying I am not a Wilder hater. I just look at him accurately as someone who appreciates boxing. He is what he is. Yeah, exactly. He is what he is.
And nothing.
So, but he has a large following. He has a huge following. Sure. So that statement started to snowball from the first fight into the second fight. A lot of people were obviously saying that Wilder was already making excuses for whatever was going to go down in the second fight, and he was making excuses for the first fight because he had been dominated. And I mean that word. I'm using the correct word. He had been outclassed and outboxed that entire first fight.
Sorry, both fights. Let's be fair.
Both fights. But the first fight there was something special because no one thought it was going to be that huge of a gap. But you, Cash, and I had talked about this. Mm-hmm. I called it back then. I was like, dude, he's not there skill level wise. We're talking about Tyson Fury. This guy's been boxing since he was a kid. But
and
obviously
boxing,
yes,
right?
Boxing.
Like legitimate boxing. Not he didn't just get put into a camp and then have to be surrounded by a bunch of yes men and then have to have his manager pull in an actual trainer because the guy hits hard, right? Like that's it. In heavyweight boxing, that should be it generally. But when you meet someone like a Joshua who could box, like an Anthony Ruiz who can box, or like a Fury who could box, which are his three main people who he has to fight, right? Who are all legitimate, talented boxers.
So if you think MMA fans are very serious about their consumption of the sport and the purity of the sport, boxing fans, they're way into it.
Well, they're
so
purist,
right? Yes, they're deep. So here's the problem, right? So second fight, it is what it is. Wilder got absolutely from bell one to the last bell rung in that fight to before the stoppage. He got dominated. People had been pointing out, and we can't clip it in here because I'm not even sure what the legality of this whole thing is. But people have been pointing out since the night of the fight, live pay-per-view, that there was something amiss with Tyson Fury's gloves. So just to give you a crash rundown on the gloves in boxing, kickboxing, and or MMA, more so with boxing, those things get reviewed more than any other item in most sports, right? So the whole Tom Brady Deflategate type of situation, like the Nevada Commission, wherever the fight's taking place, that commission reviews the gloves. The night before the fight, both parties And when I say both parties, it's promoter, fighter, manager from both sides. Review the gloves. They pick the gloves together and they say, these are the ones we're going to go with. Then those gloves are then locked up, if I understand the process correctly, and they're not seen again until the gloves are viewed again by a representative of the opposing team and that locker room with that team's cornermen and everyone in the commission. But at any rate, you I don't know if you saw the footage. There's the point when Tyson Fury's I believe it's his right glove. This is a new glove, mind you. It basically looks like it's not on his hand. I don't know if it's a weird angle. I don't know what happened.
I've seen it. Yeah, you're exactly right. It looks like it's almost like half on his hand. Or
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue was with the glove. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so this is where but prior to this point, other people, and then to his credit, Wilder had never said anything publicly about it the night he lost the fight. He just chalked it up to one of his trainers, turned on him, threw in the towel. He felt like he still had a chance to come back and win that fight. I mean,
then he blamed it on the 40-pound costume that he wore out. Yeah, a number of things.
That all his fault. Him and Paulo Costa, they obviously go to the same gym and they talk to the same people because Paulo Costa just recently said something very similar. But oh, you didn't hear about this, did you?
I don't want to hear about it, dude. Paulo Costa's a clown.
So basically,
Paulo Costa gets smoked by Robert Whittaker too, by the way.
Yes, he does. So the fans had pointed that out. People, all the internet sleuths are sending out pictures, tweeting at Wilder, at Tyson Fury. And then it finally makes it to Wilder's brother, who basically says, hey, there's something wrong here. There's something amiss with Tyson's gloves. Tyson responds to that tweet. Obviously, he's a man of honor and ego. You know, he's like, there's no bullshit on my side. I beat your brother fair and square. During the night of Deontay Tank Davis versus I forget the poor chap's name that just got
the poor
murdered.
guy who is, I'm sure, is still in a coma.
Yes. Right before that fight, I believe that's when Deontay came out
video.
Released that video on IG basically, and it was a long monologue just stating that, like, you can't hold me down. I know that you cheated. I know that you had an egg in your hand. So the egg he's referring to, a lot of people were asking me, what is he talking about? It's actually a gripping device that you see boxers sometimes
to keep the grip staying strong and their hand in the correct position.
Right, but he's saying that it was, I believe what he's saying was it was on the outside the hand, padded right here in the glove, and that's why he has that indent in his head. So Deontay Wilder is a psychopath. This whole thing doesn't have legs, but it's probably going to go to court. I'm calling it right now. This is going to court because he's going to make some type of claim against the commission. I just wanted to give everyone else, because I had written this man as a psychopath, but I forgot in the Sugar Shane Mosley fight against his opponent, the commission verified those very same gloves, and I got to look the guy's name up. Everyone had access. I mean, everyone verified that the gloves were safe. This guy actually snuck something into his glove when he fought Mosley. Now, luckily, that Mosley, do you know who Sugar Shane Mosley is?
Yeah.
He's an amazing boxer. He's an amazing defensive boxer. And that's why this is going to play perfectly into it. You're not going to be able to hit him, let alone hit him with a weighted glove.
Sure.
And it worked out in his favor. Turns out later on that night, I remember watching that fight when they discovered that there was something wrong with his opponent's glove and it had been tampered with. And the 3 other instances that this has happened, none of these 4 instances, none of them were ever caught by the commission. In your opinion, does that give Wilder any legs to stand on at all?
Listen, it makes a good case, right? He has a way of validating his thoughts, and like, I don't know, right? It does, right? I think it does. If you look up the pictures of Fury's gloves and when he hits them, there was very clearly gloves were slipping. Something was going on with the glove, right? Because the gloves have structure, and there was something weird. They're brand new, right? There's something weird going on with the glove. I get that. But I don't think he's padding the glove. I don't know if he's intentionally doing it. I don't know what it is. But listen, he outboxed him regardless, right? I don't know.
This is where it gets weird, because what you're talking about is exactly the truth, man. Like, let's say that the gloves had been tampered with, and let's say Tyson Fury wasn't the one to tamper with. What if they were just faulty gloves? What if they were coming off? Whatever, all the what ifs. He still beat him fair and square in my mind as a boxer. Now, there are some weird things going on where it's like, what is that friggin' indent on the side of Wilder's head? I need a doctor or someone to step in and explain to me what that thing is. I honestly don't think that Tyson Fury is the type of guy that would do this. I could see
he doesn't need it.
I could see De La Hoya doing it. I can name 5 other boxers that I believe that would do this before Tyson Fury. But just for the optics alone, where his career has been and where it finally came back to, yeah, I think the thing that we all need to be focusing on here is, why did Deontay get hit so much?
Yeah, why does Deontay get hit so much? Why is Deontay a one strike puncher in boxing? Right, he only knows how to use his right hand. If you listen to Sugar Ray Leonard on Rogan, they talk about Wilder a lot, actually. And they say, what would he do if Wilder came to him and asked for training, right? And he's like, I don't need nothing with his right hand. Right hand gets taped behind his back. We focus solely on his left, and once you get that lead left hook, then we work on defense. Right, because then you show someone something that they haven't seen before from you, and then you work on defense.
Yeah,
I listen, man. I don't exactly know the situation regarding the glove. The glove thing is weird. If you look at it, the glove isn't on his hand 100%. Right. Yeah, let's be fair. I don't know if it's loaded. I don't know. I don't think it would be. Right. I feel like the commission would see that. Do the commission take the gloves off as well?
That's the thing so that's the part I'm waiting for someone to reach out to me. Where do the gloves go after the fight? I think
they usually auction them off for charity, I believe. I think you could purchase one of the gloves if you wanted to after the fight. But my question is, does the Nevada State Athletic Commission come in and take the gloves off to verify?
I would think so. And the only reason I would say so is because once you get back to the dressing room, I have to go back and look at the fight. I believe Tyson still had his you know what?
They were off. They were off in the ring.
They were off in the ring for the interview.
Everyone always has them off.
So who that's a good question. Who takes the gloves?
Who takes the gloves off? Right. Does the sanctioning commission, does the sanctioning body, does this promoter coming over and take them off? Who does that?
I feel like the hoodie should have just gone back on, and we're back in the conspiracy theory episode all over again. They're like, where are the gloves? Where did they go? The problem with this whole scenario is that, man, we're talking about boxing here, right? So if I'm just playing devil's advocate, it has been one of the most corrupted, fraudulent sports to ever exist. And anyone that would say otherwise or chalk it up to you've been watching too many movies, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. There have been fixed fights, mob intimidation, everything short of not point shaving, but people shaving rounds to increase their odds with the bookies. It's plausible. I just don't think it happened in this instance. Does that make sense? I could see the Sugar Shane Mosley situation because this dude was a dynamic fighter of his time. I could probably be being very biased right now. I don't think that you need that much to beat Deontay Wilder. Right? Look at it. What was his name when he was fighting the McGilla Gorilla guy? Ortiz, is that fool's name? Big old dude was winning the fight, basically, and then Deontay slept him with that one clubbing.
One hand, but he hit him on the forehead, right? Which is incredible.
You know what? And if you ever really want to take a trip down just comedy, look at the way other boxers are responding to this, right? When Deontay's texting them privately, they're like, oh man, I see what you're saying. Yeah, you got an egged indent. And as soon as that text message is over, they're like, this guy's fucking crazy. He's freaking crazy. And he released the video. I don't know why people have to do this. Why do you got to drag God into it? Please, if you're going to say something crazy, don't start it off by reading the scriptures. Just say your crazy statement and stand on it. Don't drag God into this madness. What do you rank him in heavyweights, man?
Who?
Deontay.
Wow. Because I don't. He's at the top.
Yeah, I don't think he fights again. To be honest with you, I think we're going to see more of these shenanigans. I don't actually think we see him fight in a real contest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he boxes again, right? I think he boxes again, but I think he takes an easy fight. Which 80% of the fights out there for Wilder are easy. Let's be fair. Wilder's very athletic. He's very gifted.
Right.
He's not a traditionally great boxer, but for what he is, he's very good at it. He's one of the most dynamic power punchers we've probably ever seen. He takes fights again. I think he boxes again, but I don't think he takes another big name. I don't think we see Fury 3. Fury wouldn't sign it fighting fucking someone else because they won't fight him, right? I don't think we see the Joshua fight.
Joshua would piece him up.
I think Joshua pieces him up. There is the off chance that Wilder hits him. And we have seen that Joshua kind of does almost, I don't want to say it, but he drops a little easy. Ruiz
he doesn't wear the damage well.
Right. Ruiz dropped him like what? Ruiz got dropped and then dropped him again, but like to me, like Ruiz has power, don't get me wrong, but Ruiz is technical. Right. And that's where his thing is. He hits you with like these overwhelming shots. So he doesn't have the huge, crazy one punch KO power. Right. And he knocked Joshua down. And that's my thought. So if Wilder does get a hit on Joshua, does Joshua stay awake? That's the hard thing. If he hits him with that same punch that he hit Wilder or Fury with in the 12th round, Joshua's out. Yeah. Joshua's out. Right. And now, admittedly, I think Fury took that fight a little early. I think if Fury took that after the following fight, like he did one more tune-up fight and then fought Wilder, I think he smokes Wilder both fights so convincingly. It's a shame. I don't think he fights one of the major guys again. That's my opinion.
Could you imagine if we saw Wilder that knew how to throw us a check uppercut or a check hook? Could you imagine that type of guy that just knew how to shoulder roll? Like, I think here's the crazy thing though. Teddy Atlas, Floyd Mayweather's father agree on one thing. They don't think that he has the chops to be retrained again. Like, it's like the bad habits are so ingrained in him that it's too late to salvage him. But in regards to GLOVEGATE, man, I was hoping this story would just kind of go away last week whenever it was, last week or 2 weeks ago when it broke. It's still hanging in there, man. And this type of stuff bothers me because not only are you calling in question the integrity of the sport, which, okay, I can deal with that, but you're really calling into question a man that I feel like worked his way back up to be where he's at. And I'm talking about Tyson Fury, dude. And I've also seen that there's some racial dynamic going on here. The guy that I sent you the video for today that was actually covering it, I've watched some of his other stuff and I was like, oh, okay, so you're a bigot. That's what this is. And like, just to sum it up for everyone, he is black, the guy in the video I said, Zach, but he seems to have an issue and he thinks that there's some racially motivated narrative going against Wilder. And I'm like,
get through so much of that video, by the way. I didn't like the guy.
He's an idiot, but he comes up in that feed like, and he covers all the fights. So I try to get as much content as possible, but yeah, there's no narrative here, man. Like, he wasn't robbed because he was a black man. He just got beat. Now, if it turns out that he was cheated, he gets his belt back. But that doesn't change the fact that he got exposed. Do you understand what I'm saying? It does not change.
I agree.
It does not change that fact. Screw Wilder, man. Screw that motherfucker. I lost $3,000 on that fight, man. What are you looking at, buddy?
I'm looking through like rules of boxing to find out what happens to the gloves after the fight. I can't find anything. I'm going to continue to do research on this because I'm actually genuinely curious. How does what happens to the gloves right after the fight, right after it's called? What happens? Where do the gloves go? Who takes them off? Do they hide them? Right? Like, because then like I could legitimately see this being an issue if like his corner quickly cuts the tape, takes it off, and he's just in wraps now, right?
Yeah.
And they like put him in a bag and shoo him away to backstage, right? Like, then I see that as an issue. But what legitimately happens to the gloves afterwards, and that will be the key to what is the answer to this issue.
See, but the science doesn't match up on it, right? So on one hand, you're complaining about the fact that his glove, his being Tyson Fury, is coming off, right? That was the huge complaint that a lot of people have. Then there's another shot of the glove completely almost flattened out, right? And they're saying that there was no cushion there. He's throwing straight knuckle. Then the third shoot on the grassy knoll is now he has some egg-like object inside the glove. And I'm like, it's too many conspiracies. It just doesn't make enough sense. So you're accusing him of 3 things, or is the overarching thing that something was wrong, but these are the 3 most likely scenarios that we think, because none of those things add up. Because if his glove was actually coming off, if that was the thing, and you're saying that he's clipping Wilder with his fist through the wrap here, then all right, that would be the most likely thing to catch him on. That would be the most likely thing. But the other shit, it just doesn't make sense, man. Here's what you do, Deontay. Get better, bro. Get better. Get better, and you won't have to worry about cheaters. Be like Sugar. Sugar had a man who had a real life weighted glove. Look it up. This is public domain. Could have killed Sugar. Could have killed Mosley in there. Man couldn't even put the glove on him.
Yeah.
Get better. That's it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I don't know what the answer to this is. I hope we get down to the. What's up?
Ruiz versus Wilder. That's the answer you're looking for.
That's an interesting fight. It's a very interesting fight, actually, because Ruiz gets hit, right? But Ruiz is, Mexican boxers, the stereotype is that they're very hard to put away, and we'll see in that fight how hard he would be to put away. But he outboxes Wilder in every way imaginable because he's just the more technical guy, and that's just the fact.
He's a stockier guy. He's a shorter guy, and he also likes a lazy jab, which Wilder is notorious for. Man, he puts out a pulling jab, and if Ruiz slips left or right, that that overhand's coming right over, or body shots. I think it's a fun fight for the fans, but like I said, I don't think we see Wilder again, because even if he's right about all this stuff, just like the kid from Justice League, I think the lawsuit is going to be the next move. Because he still got exposed, man. Just remember, you heard it here first, guys.
He got exposed. He got exposed.
When a fighter gets exposed like that, man, there's something happens to their psyche, and I just don't think that we would. And speaking, that and the heavyweight division in boxing is all but deceased. They're doing worse than the UFC is doing in the heavyweight division. In fact, the UFC is doing so bad with their heavyweight prospects that Dana will pretty much sign you on the Contender Series if you even manage to put your opponent away. Doesn't matter what your skill level looked like prior to that finish. You're getting signed, dude. You're getting signed, dude.
That's fun. Yeah, I don't know, man. What I really hope is that we get down to the bottom of it, right? I want what should happen is Nevada State Athletic Commission should do an investigation, right? I think what they should legitimately, if someone has a concern, if Deontay Wilder has a legitimate concern, which I think he should have, because the glove was weird, he should submit a complaint. They should investigate and figure out what happened, right? Now, do I want the thought and the idea overturned? I don't care, right? I ultimately, it was a great fight. Fury won. I don't care if it's overturned on the record book. But does boxing do the thing where if you're a person that's hard to work with, do they kind of shun you like they do in acting?
Yes. So if
he's becoming that guy now, though, right?
Yeah.
Is the last 2 fights he's been in, he's had complaints and excuses for both fights. And now he's becoming the hard to work with guy in heavyweight boxing. And that is an issue.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, man. It's like it's that promoters don't want to work with you. The fans are obviously going to feel some sort of way about you if you seem like a crybaby. This is a real thing. You just got to accept the reality. People expect their combat athletes to be combat athletes.
Tough.
And not like just take it on the chin. Was the fight in Vegas, by the way?
It was in Nevada State Athletic Commission, so yeah, I believe it was.
All right. Because I just want to piggyback. I know that we're beating a dead horse here, but if you're going to file a complaint, you have to pick one charge. If I'm Wilder, I'm picking, why does his glove look like it's coming off his hand?
Correct.
That's the charge I'm going with.
That is absolutely what I go with too.
Absolutely. Like someone's going to have to explain that to me. At any rate, man. What else you got, man? What else you got, man? We shit on Call of Duty. They're not releasing the game, by the way. They finally saw one of our episodes. And they're
releasing it. They're absolutely releasing it. It's coming out. I'm not buying it.
What up, Jose?
I'll bet it. I'll buy it on a sale if Zombies is good. But listen, man, at the end of this month, like Shadowlands comes out for WoW. I'm going hard. I think I might try to be server first, level 60 mage. We'll see. We'll see if I could do that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't care about Call of Duty in the fucking slightest. I no interest. I'm going to be excited for the CDL because I think it's going to be a good competitive game.
PC bound, man. PC
yeah, but it's got a controller still, so who cares? So I just think the CDL will be good this year. We'll see. It's not it for me this year, and I'm not even going to buy it, which is maybe the first time since Modern Warfare 2 that I haven't bought a Call of Duty on launch.
I was reading an article about ARM processors today that almost made it into the topics, but then I was like, you know what, this is kind of like geek news. No one really cares about this except for
I
people
also
who care
don't
about
care.
it. Yeah. And then I started, that led me down the rabbit trail of reading articles about the PS5 and Xbox, and the direct drive thing that they got going there, that they're thinking about bringing that to PC, and that the only card compatible to do it is the only card that no one can get their hands on right now. And it's
That
like it's just amazing to me. But when I read that, I got this feeling inside of me where I was just like, I can't afford any of this shit. Why am I reading this article? I need to stop doing
I
this
do
to
that too
myself.
now. I definitely do that too. Listen,
Call it, buddy. You call it.
Whoa. Why are you forcing that responsibility on me?
Okay, I won't call it, man. You won't call it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Talking with a Dad. Deontay Wilder, you want to file a complaint against us? Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video. You can find us on our social media platforms.
Everywhere.
The website. Shout out to the audio listeners. You guys are gangsters, man.
Are we still
I don't know who
killing it
you
over
are.
there? I haven't looked at it this week.
I look at it every day, on the hour, every hour. It is what I do.
We have so many listeners now. We're starting to get more data.
Yeah. Actually, we got hit up for a couple of like sponsorship deals, and I turned them down flat.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
Yes, for sponsor reads. Rich, check your email. Do you not read the business email? Am I the only person reading?
I literally looked at it today. There's nothing on there.
That's because I deleted it, man. I did the right thing.
No, you did. No, you're just lying. You're just absolutely lying.
No one for a second you really for a second you were like, if he deleted this fucking email,
I don't. No.
I told Manscaped that they could take that friggin' thing and shove it right into our mailboxes because we would happily promote their great product. Make sure to tune in Monday. We got anything going on for Monday for the mega episode? Anything you picked out in the hat?
I don't think so, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Over the weekends. We'll see. All
right, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with not Jacare, Glover, and the other guy, ACL man.
Thiago Santos.
Poor guy. And again, Discord link is in the video description. If you're in the chat right now, you're not a part of the Discord, please be a part of the conversation. Click that link. Talking with a Dad family. Good night.